besides the fire department vehicle, he's also asking 20,000 for a forestry truck, which I'm all in favor of. But he wants to go from a 20,000 appropriation to an 80,000 appropriation. I think that's something we could start increasing gradually. Next year, you won't have the 20,000 for a forestry truck, and we can bring this warrant article probably up to 50,000. But to go from 20,000 to 60,000, I don't see the need for that.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
Well, I have a different opinion. So I guess I don't have a second. But I would, I mean, this was all driven from the capital improvement plan. And I think the, you know, the plan that's been put forward is pretty level, you know, across all the years. And if we start moving things around, of course, it's gonna have a, you know, an effect on that, and that'll probably have an effect anyway, because, you know, nothing stays the way you hope it's going to anyway as you go forward in the future. But I would also say that a motion could come from the floor to amend this. If the townspeople, you know, disagree with the warrant, then they could certainly put a, you know, change on the floor.
Yeah, we can amend it, or the floor can amend it.
No, I understand that.
I'm just saying, you
Yeah,
know,
no, no.
I'm telling you what, it's just like they said at the last meeting when we were discussing this. There's nothing that says that we have to collect the whole $400,000 before we buy the fire truck. You can get it to 250, 300,000, have a big down payment, and you can lease it for another 4 or 5 years at 20, 30,000 a year. I mean,
There are options, yeah, absolutely. I understand where you're coming from, Ted, and of the opinion, I mean, this came out of the capital improvements committee. I think out of respect for the people that put the time and effort into doing the work on the committee, that we leave it as is and let the people on the floor, you know, let them rate, you know, up or down, change it with an amendment or whatever the case may be. Because I think, I mean, granted, it's only a tool, it's you know, it's only a recommendation, but I think, you know, we don't have enough volunteers to do all the work that we have going on here. I don't wanna take and slap anybody in the face by taking and throwing their recommendations out the window. You know, it can tend to put a sour taste in their mouth if they, you know, see all these capital improvements warrant articles getting reduced or eliminated. It's gonna be like, why am I even on the committee, why am I bothering? And we end up losing
That committee puts a
participation.
lot of work into the whole
Right.
process. That's why I'm in favor of supporting the work.
So I don't disagree with what you're saying.
No, don't either, but
But I think that, you know, out of respect for the committee, we ought to just put it forth as is and let the amendments happen on the floor. That's where I'm coming from. I mean, if you want a second, I'll second, and we can vote it, but I think you know where it's gonna go from there.
no, there's no second that dies on the floor.
Right, it does,
Move
but we
on.
can. Yeah,
Move
okay.
on, yeah.
I just
I'm
wanna
not
make sure.
gonna kill it to death.
I'm just asking if you wanted a second, you can have it. Alrighty, so, we agreed to put it on there, recommended by the board of selectmen.
let me, yes.
Oh,
Okay. I'm a yes. I'd be happy to entertain an amendment on the floor. Alright, 10, to raise and appropriate the sum of 20 grand for the forestry truck. Again, it's part of the capital. How come we don't put the same,
No, this is a
verbiage?
request, this is not a capital reserve, this is just,
It's on the capital
Yeah, it's on the capital reserve.
It's on the capital
no,
improvements.
No.
you're raising the money and spending it all in one
Forest
year.
utility truck, right there.
It's not a capital reserve.
right, but it's not,
Well, it's not a
Putting
capital
it in
reserve,
for
but it's
spending,
CIP.
you're just
You're putting
Right, it's
raising
not,
it, so-
right, I know it's not, but it's part of the capital improvements.
Capital fund.
It's part of this thing, you know, where you see here, you know, fire department capital reserve fund,
mhm,
previously established for this purpose summarized in the capital improvements plan. You know, this should be raised for 20,000 for the purchase of the forestry truck as summarized in the capital improvements plan.
The-
Because it's part of
as
it,
summarized?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
I mean, it's still part of it.
Just shows where it came from,
Yeah, it's
why it's
just not,
there. It wasn't just, you know, an idea. It actually came from somewhere.
as summarized in the capital.
Yeah.
Yep. So that way they know where it's coming from and
Yeah.
there's something, there's a basis for it.
Okay.
with it with that minor change.
Pardon?
Unanimous? Ted?
What?
Yes?
To put it on, yeah.
No, put it on, I'm talking,
We haven't, that's what
We
he
haven't
asked,
gotten that
right?
far yet.
Yes, that's what I asked.
to put it on.
Put it on the warrant, yes.
Yep.
And Tom said with the appropriate change.
Yeah, with the appropriate change, yep.
All those,
Yeah.
In favor,
I'm good with that.
recommend?
I'm a yes.
oh yes.
Yeah.
Okay. 11, halfway through, gentlemen. See the town will raise appropriate sum of $44,000 to purchase a new police cruiser with equipment for the capital improvements plan. Are we okay with putting it on?
Yep.
Oh, yes. Okay. Recommendation.
I'm against it.
I'm
For the
for it.
same reason as I outlined in the last meeting.
I understand. Again, we have to take an amendment on the floor.
You all agreed to put it on the
Put
warrant.
it on the warrant, yes. Yep. I'm in favor of recommending it.
Yep, me too.
See the town vote to raise and approve a sum of $16,825 for mobile data terminal equipment. Are we okay with putting it on the warrant?
That one I'm still on the fence on a
Yeah.
little bit.
I know, especially when I heard it was gonna be like October, November.
Yeah, it's like, really? I guess I'm okay with putting it on there, but I'm just not totally in favor of it, I suppose, so. Not for this year anyway.
Mhm.
Okay, if you're not in favor, why put it on?
No, I'm just saying, that's just, the moment, just saying it out loud, Ted. Yeah, I wouldn't kill it if we took it off.
It's also on the CIP as well.
Yeah, but it's on the CIP, but if we want.
It was a late addition.
It would only be if we were gonna plug and play this year.
Yeah.
And we don't know what that increase might be,
Mm.
you know, going forward. You know, if the chief comes in next week with, it'll be too late then, won't it?
The special duty funds, vehicle funds that would cover this for, offsetting revenue, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but he's always.
No, he's
using it for his
using that in
cruiser.
his vehicle.
Right, but I'm just saying, if we collect another 7 to 10 grand this year,
Yeah.
it could potentially be applied to
Mhm. And if he
offset
doesn't get a,
increase.
he doesn't get a cruiser this year either, then he'll still have even more in that fund.
Yep.
Well, that's 17 grand almost.
Yeah,
And the advantage of having that is it puts the officer on the street more.
but it won't be on the street until
Right,
2017.
but this won't be till 2017, so I'm talking myself into a no.
Yeah, I've already kind of gone
Yeah.
that direction myself,
Yeah.
personally, but that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, and what if Goffstown isn't ready until 2017? What if they don't get all their whatever's in
Ducks
place
in a
this
row.
year? Yeah, I say wait.
So we look into not put it on the warrant,
Yeah, take it off.
Ted, you?
Yep.
Alright, so we're gonna X 12, so 13 becomes a new 12. So, new 12. Let's see if town will vote and raise appropriate sum of $100,000 to reconstruct Grapevine Road. And, we okay with putting it on?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Alright, now recommended by the board of selectmen, that it,
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
yes. So for the infrastructure. See if the town will vote, the new 13. To see if the town will vote and authorize establishment of the capital reserve fund, as for this transfer station roll-off truck. So, we good with putting that on there?
I got a question.
Yeah.
Not that, if we didn't have that roll-off truck,
Mm-hmm.
we just didn't have one. And all we had that truck for was a yard truck. What would it take to have, traction moved in the future from a contract?
Like having Kennard or
Something,
waste management
yeah.
or Zero Waste come in.
Can I just say that there was one more comment from the DRA, and she said, why are we being so specific to say transfer station roll-off truck? Because if we just say truck, it's opening up other options.
We didn't wanna open up other options, that's why.
Yeah.
But what if you decide not to get the roll-off truck in 5 years? You've got this money going to a fund that now you have to amend and move to another fund, rename.
Well, I'm just thinking, what I'm thinking of is the new cost of a vehicle. If that new vehicle is $185,000, for example, it's $400,000, you can probably hire a
Yeah,
lot
well-
of hauling for that kind of money. Take it.
If it was cost effective to own your own roll-off truck, I would think Ware would have their own roll-off truck.
They don't
Because they're- No, they hire, am I right? They hire somebody.
But they're actually looking into buying their
Oh,
own
yeah,
truck.
but again, how much bigger are they?
They don't have roll-offs either. They've gone to a lot of trailers, tractor trailers.
Right,
Their
okay,
setup's a little different than ours.
okay.
They have a few roll-offs, but they have had a private contractor, and I don't know how they stand now, but I know it was something that was coming down the road, and their capital improvements was to actually purchase a truck and haul it themselves.
I mean, I like what you're saying, but I think we're probably daylight and a dollar
Yeah,
short.
my,
for
yeah,
that.
but it was just an idea.
No, I think we need to
Maybe
research it
further
and have the
discussion,
answers.
yeah, okay,
I think that, I mean,
that's
that's
fine,
definitely.
just a question.
Oh, we probably ought to know that anyway as a backup, cause what happens if there is a, God forbid, an accident, and that truck gets
Well-
totaled,
Yeah,
I mean, we have to have a backup plan.
right.
So we probably ought to look into that anyway. I don't know, have you ever looked into that, Woody?
You know, we've used the hauler on occasions, when the truck was down,
Mm-hmm.
and, hauls at that point, I mean, that's not a contract deal.
No.
It hauls, and some of them, they were based on distance,
Mm-hmm.
and at that point, I think a haul, I can't even remember the exact cost, it was a couple $100 to go to, like, Wheelabrator
Mm-hmm.
up at Pennacook, that was a couple $100 haul, whatever it was.
Right.
And I know, only to answer your question, Tom, cost-wise, the truck has more than paid for itself over the year. When back in 2001, when that came to the town, cause they bought it in 2002, so at the end of 2000, or was voted on in 2002, whatever it was, whenever it was brought to the town, it was in that vintage. The recycling committee did some research on it, and the cost at that time for a hauler to haul the containers, which not hauling as much as we're hauling now, was, I believe, $27,000 a year, some was 25, 24, 27. The purchase of the truck, the lease purchase of the truck, was 25,000 for 5 years. So at that point, the truck we've had, it's a 2003 model, which we bought in 2002. So right now, the truck is, 13 years old?
Yeah.
In the automotive world, it's actually 14 years old. So the truck is more than paid for itself. The big issue I see right now, why there will be some questions of it, is you're gonna have a major maintenance issue here shortly. At some point, you're gonna have to do something body-wise with that truck, you're gonna have to paint it, you're gonna have to do something, or you're just gonna run it into the ground, the truck has the life expectancy. When that committee brought it to the town, they told the taxpayers, we're picturing a window of 20 years life expectancy. It's not to say it's gonna drop dead at 20 years, that's not what they're saying. What they're saying is, we're gonna say 20 years is what they're looking at, You do some work to that, maintenance wise, I try to keep up with everything.
Yeah, that
maintenance
truck's in
on it.
pretty good shape.
It is.
But body wise is where you're gonna start to come into an issue, and if you don't start taking care of the little issues, I know it's too late now, but maybe another option for next year would be, instead of, and this kinda plays in this warrant article, and taking some time, but maybe the thing to do is to put this warrant article on hold for this year, just take it off, sit down, we regroup, figure out, cause we have a capital reserve fund right now, that at one point, and you're right, Ted, I think it was started as for a roll-off truck, and then CIP, I think we changed it in CIP to make it an equipment fund, and now you wanna change it back to a roll-off fund. I see all that, maybe this is a discussion to have another point where we're not being rushed, we can sit down and say, okay, what do we wanna do? Because at some point, you have other equipment you're gonna have to replace, it's gonna come, whether you wanna burden the taxpayers with it, or whether you wanna start putting a little in a fund, however you wanna do it. You're gonna have your skid steer, at some point you're gonna have to do that, when we bought it, was a $35,000 piece of equipment. You know, is that something you wanna hit at one time? You know, now that piece of machinery is probably 40,000 or 50,000. I don't know, I haven't priced on it. But it's things you're gonna have to think about, you know, balers, at some point, you're gonna have to change another baler out. They don't run forever, yeah, we could keep, you know, once again, we take care of the maintenance, but they don't run forever.
I don't need to take, we're running.
No,
out
no,
of
no,
time.
but I'm just saying, you know, at some point,
Yep.
so
Well, I mean,
my
we're getting a
suggestion,
little bit- We're moving off the topic
Yeah,
of
moved off
this
topic,
particular
sorry.
warrant article, so.
Sorry about
right,
that.
so my
Yeah.
suggestion is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to tell you,
No.
is I would,
Good.
let's pull that warrant article, and then, when this is all said and done, sit down and regroup and figure out how we wanna do it. To me, that would be the best suggestion for the taxpayers, just pull the warrant article, and then we can sit and regroup with it.
Oh, we definitely need to do a vehicle and equipment acquisition plan.
Right, and then this would, it's not gonna kill us 1 year not to put money into that fund. Stop it and let's sit and regroup and come up with a new plan.
So, hearing all that, where are we, what do you gentlemen think?
I'm okay with taking it out and
Yeah.
looking into whether.
Take it out and let's explore the truck further,
Okay,
you know,
There's
maybe
gotta be
there's,
some merit to it, 'cause I know, for example, Tilton. Not Tilton, Bristol, Bristol, they hire a hauler. They're a lot bigger town than we are, especially in the summer. Summertime, they said they go up by
Oh, yeah.
15,000
they have a lot of
residents.
summer
Newfound
residents.
Lakes.
But, they figured out it was cheaper for them to have somebody haul. They haul it a lot further than we would have to haul it.
Yeah.
They go from Bristol all the way to Belmont.
Bristol's one of my customers, so I could easily find out from them.
Okay, right, so I'm in favor of removing them.
Yeah, or remove it.
Okay, so we're gonna move that one, so,
New 13
new
Yep.
13
is
is
number 15.
number 15, exactly. That's the milfoil one. I know.
I know we don't wanna debate this again, but I,
Yeah.
you know, it'd be nice to know, and I know we don't know.
Mhm.
But it'd be nice to know what it would cost if the town just went out and hired divers on their own without worrying about this warrant and the, you know, what do you call it, thing, the grant.
Mhm.
You know, cause the grant is projected to be like $4,000, so we gotta come up with $6,000. I'm really wondering what it would cost if, you know, the town did that instead of going through the, you know, the DES.
Mhm.
But anyway, it's too late for that discussion, but just an idea.
You know, we can keep track of it, you know how much it costs, right, last year?
Yeah,
Mhm.
How much did it cost us last year, what, 1,500?
cause I'm wondering if it's costing us more money to chase the grant.
They
than-
ran out of time and they could only do 5, or
Yeah.
they anticipated by the time they got wetlands permits and all
Yeah.
that stuff, 5 dives.
Yeah, cause I'm sure the permits, I'm sure there's a lot more to it than just
But
showing
I
something
know.
with a dive. boat.
Yeah,
But I remember, and I thought it was Lou coming before us,
same
and
as,
saying that they only saw little
Yeah.
parts here and
They
there.
gave us a document,
the
and it,
last report, yeah.
And it was
Yeah,
just
that talked to
it was
that
just a
stuff.
matter of
the
getting
maintenance kind of
divers
thing.
down there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I was surprised when he said 12 dives, I was like, man,
Yeah.
seems like a lot, but anyway.
Alright, so
Well, we wanna put it on.
Yeah, leave it on
Yeah,
there,
do we recommend?
but I'm not terribly in favor of it.
No, nor am I. I mean, this has become a burden
Well,
to our town,
I think so.
personally.
But on the other side, people who live on that farm, as taxpayers,
Mhm.
they have a vested interest.
Well, yeah,
Absolutely.
I think for the amount of money we've put into
If
it,
it was a
where,
public.
where if it gets down to like 1,000 a year to maintain it, I think that's a pretty
Yeah, it's
inexpensive,
reasonable.
yeah, reasonable price to
Right.
maintain a nice
But this keeps
career.
going up.
But, yeah, and they told us every year,
Up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
every year will go down. It went from 4,500 last year, all of a sudden to 10,000 this year.
I mean, you know, if we had the public access where, you know, you could use the pond per se without, you know, I'd have.
Well, there is public access.
There is public access.
Yeah,
But it's not,
You can't use
not for
the beach.
swimming, it's not a beach.
You
No.
can't use the
It's a
beach.
boat ramp.
Exactly.
You did sign an agreement for the warrant, grant.
Yeah,
No, I'm fine with it, but,
doesn't mean we have to recommend the warrant article.
yeah, doesn't make a recommendation.
I would vote against it.
Mhm.
and let the town people ask the selectmen, well, at least one selectman, why he voted against it. And my reasoning was, we were told that the cost would go down on a yearly basis, but it's doubled from last
I
year.
have to say, I'm right there with you too.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Yeah,
At least it'll make the voters ask us.
Well, usually,
All right,
I mean,
put it out.
if it's a,
Zero to
it's just
three.
a timing thing, getting you two together, that's one thing.
I'm good with that.
If it's an issue you
All
can't
right,
solve, but then
Deputy
you
Town
can
Clerk by
access-
petition, we don't know what's gonna be there, whether we want it or not.
yep,
Recommended by the Board of Selectmen, everyone know,
Good.
so it's another 0 to 3. Alright, the new 15, which is the old 17, city to town vote and raise appropriate sum of $101,894 for the breathing apparatuses. All based on a grant, no tax impact. I'm good with putting it on the warrant.
me too.
I'm good in recommending it.
Yep.
Get it.
Thank you.
You guys too? That was what, the new 15?
Yeah, that was 15.
Okay, so the new 16. Cemetery expendable trust fund per RSA,
Yeah,
we okay with putting it on there?
Yeah. All right,
Um,
yes,
I'm okay with recommending it.
Yep.
Yes.
Alright, new 17, vote pursuant to 35:9A2, which became effective as the trustee of the trust funds to do that.
Yep.
We already said that we're good with putting it on the warrant article.
Yep.
I'm okay with
Yep.
recommending it.
same here.
You, Ted? Or no?
I have a problem with the word to charge any expenses incurred.
Yep.
I mean, that's kinda giving them a blank check.
Well, check, yeah, good point.
Well, it's gonna be charges related to their brokerage fees and stuff like that. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
like they can just charge to go buy a candy bar. I mean, I
know,
understand what you're saying,
I
man.
know, but you got, whatever the trustees have, 500,000,
Mhm.
and they get a,
They can't spend
broker.
more than what they collect in that period. Isn't that what a broker's fee is? If he collects $200,
broker's
there's a
fee is
fee.
whatever agreement they have. He can say, well, I'll manage your funds for a 5% fee,
Mhm.
and he might only make 1 or 2% that year.
So you're
So
saying that
we're
those,
actually spending more money than
Yeah,
we're
then
collecting.
I can't imagine that agreement is really, would go into effect because
Well,
you're spending down trust funds that people, we,
You
the
can't do
town.
that.
it happens.
I don't think you do that,
Well,
even with the way this outlaw, because it's a trust fund. I know Terry Knowles was very adamant about that.
Yeah, you
The
can't spend the
principal is the
principal.
principal, the only
Right,
thing
you
that
can't
can touch is
touch
the
it.
interest.
Right,
Yeah,
So
so
it's-
I'm thinking the investment part, which is what I see with, town
Right.
forest, they make anywhere from 500 to 3,000 in a
But
month.
the town forest is totally
No,
different.
but there's a broker that invests it, and he's
Right.
got it
And
worked
they-
out, so their broker fee
And
is
they're-
only on the investment
They,
portion.
Right.
no, because there are years where they have lost a lot of money. They have lost, they've made a lot of money in some years,
Mm.
and some years they've lost money. You couldn't do that with the trust funds.
Right.
The trust funds by law have to be prudent investments.
Right.
But that doesn't mean if you're gonna let someone charge you
Mhm.
for professional advice, doesn't mean that the charges are gonna be less than what he's gonna make on your investment.
Mhm.
well, they can't spend principal.
No, I don't think I can either.
No, they can't.
No,
Yeah, we sat through that seminar.
yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah,
many
you'd end
times.
up in jail.
Well, yeah, I mean, how many towns have tried to do it and they get Supreme Court
Well,
rulings
we,
that say
we
you
even
can't.
asked about doing it with the cemeteries, to do
I
a
don't know,
It's like,
you may be right,
Say-
I'm not saying, but that's not what it
cypher.
says
We
here.
were
It
told
says,
absolutely
it
not.
says any expenses. It
Yeah.
doesn't say any expenses from
On
interest
investment,
or.
Yeah, I don't know.
well, those would be good questions to ask during the thing, and Jason will have to answer it.
Yeah. Has DRA seen this? They've seen this, right?
I think it's pretty standard language, is
Yeah.
my understanding.
Alright,
That's what Jason purported, it was pretty much
Yeah.
right out of the
Yeah.
RSA.
okay.
I think the response to this one was NA, doesn't apply, no comments, basically,
Mhm.
because it's just.
So they must have been happy with it.
Yeah, it's a standard.
Okay.
I guess my comment would be, see, we're talking about taxpayer money.
Mhm.
I would rather see that they make less on their investment than risk spending more than they're gonna make. And to me, the way this is written, they could spend more. I mean, when interest rates were 5, 6, 7% a year,
I mean, you'd have to look at that whole RSA.
but this is the reason they want this, cause they wanna take the money out of.
They wanna make more return.
Right,
wanna make
they
more,
wanna,
right.
yeah, and, you know, the law of investment is the more interest you make, the more speculative your investment is. So they won't be making more money just by
Well, my understanding.
investing in a different bank. They're gonna have to go to some kind of other investment.
My understanding is is like 3 different types of levels. You get your prudent investor, and you get your whatever it is, and you get your prudent man, which is the next one down, which is a little bit more risk, and then you have basically anything goes. That's your 3rd level. Right now they're handcuffed to that first level, which gives them very little latitude. This brings them down to the next level where they have a little bit more latitude, but they
Well,
still
this
are
money that they're
required to.
playing around with here is capital reserve funds.
Mm.
It's not even trust funds, it's capital reserve funds.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
those would
it's
be
all
the
that-
ones you have flexibility
So
with.
it's all that money that we're collecting here for capital reserve.
Oh, it's more than that. It's, don't they have the bonds and all that? you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, no, that's separate, Pam has those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
But-
this
But what
clearly
he's saying
says
is
capital
correct,
reserve.
it's the capital reserve money that they can play with.
Yeah,
The ones like the trustee of the,
yeah, our stuff is
There's some
the
things they
trust,
just
yeah, they
can't
can't
touch.
touch.
Mhm.
But this would be different, cause this is not trust money,
I
you
guess
know,
you have to look at that
this is a
chapter
capital
and
reserve.
that RSA.
so that you're talking about the fire truck money and the.
I think it's more than just capital.
All that
reserve.
stuff.
Mm.
So yeah, I was a little sketchy, I'm not sure about that one,
He,
now that
I think when he
Kick it around
presented it, he
some
said you have no choice, cause he's a lateral position
Mhm.
like yourself,
yeah,
but can you, I guess you could still
well,
vote
they're good
against it.
questions we could ask before the
Yeah.
vote.
But you have to vote now.
No, I'm talking
No,
about
With
the
the
board's
town meeting,
recommendation.
cause if it gets voted down at town meeting,
Mhm.
nothing happens.
Right.
So I mean, the townspeople need to ask, we all need to ask.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're gonna put it in, do we vote to put it in?
No,
Did you
we
ask
just
to
talk.
vote?
Yeah, I did, but.
Yeah, I thought we did,
All right,
'cause
we're
I
gonna
wrote,
You're
put
gonna
it
put it in.
yeah,
And I vote against it. I think I do not wanna risk
I'm kinda,
taxpayer money.
yeah, I'm kinda sitting there too, thinking, let Jason convince the
I
town.
wanna abstain. I'm neutral, I can go either way.
No, I think let Jason do the sell job, if we approve it, it may fly through too easily and not get questioned, and if we at least say
Well,
we
that's true.
don't approve it, then at least it'll bring
I
up a
mean,
whole lot of
yeah,
questions.
I
And
like
if we're asked why we don't, didn't approve, then we go, well, it's capital reserve money, and,
Yeah.
how much of it can they spend, and what are they spending exactly?
Right,
Cause this
exactly.
doesn't say,
Absolutely.
doesn't show any limits.
Bring up the questions that we have.
Yeah,
and start the
exactly, so yeah, I
discussion.
say,
Yeah.
no on that one,
Okay,
just,
3 no's?
yeah, if
Three
nothing
no's.
else, it'll drive questions, I hope.
Okay.
alright, the new 18, the old 20, to see the town vote to exclude all funds from unassigned general fund balance. It's by petition, so it's gotta be on there. Recommended by the board, I'm not recommending it because you can't handcuff a future board.
Yeah.
Right,
I'm okay with it because,
I understand the concept, but,
because it's only advisory.
yeah,
yeah, I'm a no.
so you are no or yay? Ted,
I'm okay with that.
so it's 1 to
Just
2 then.
It's not gonna affect anybody one way or another. But at least I'd like the people to know, this is actually the policy what's the word I'm looking for, that I profess. As I've said all along, warrant articles should stand on their own.
Mhm.
People should know exactly how much the tax rate is gonna be affected by a different warrant article.
Oh, I mean, I'm good with the policy because we follow it, but,
But you're holding other
Yeah,
But
legislation.
you're not, because it's only
advisory
advisory.
Right, it's advisory, but I mean, we're recommending it, I think it's just a bad precedent set for future select boards.
Yes.
So, they gotta stand on their own merit as well. New 19, see the town will vote to have the selectmen provide within 60 days an easily located link on the town website. By petition, so it's gotta be on there.
Yep.
Recommended by the select board, I'm voting against recommending it only because
you know,
Vice the
legal-
town attorney.
legal-
Right, I was just gonna say
opinion.
that, because of the advice we just received from the attorney, I would
Yep.
not
I
recommend.
say no.
So we're all three to know? Alrighty, 22 and 23 are pretty much given.
Yeah, just clean up. Yeah. Okay.
So,
All good?
all good. So I'll make a motion that they can accept all our current changes and
Yep. With our
agreements
edits and changes?
as noted in the record. There's a second on that?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the warrant as is?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
You have one?
We have a warrant. Jim, come on up, man.
Okay.
Sorry to take and keep you a little
That's
longer,
okay.
there, but you just came in right when we just started.
Yep.
If we needed us. Thank you for coming.
Sure.
Sorry to keep you out late at night.
You don't have to drive home too far.
Hmm?
You don't have to go too far to get home, right?
No, not at this point. I did the hard drive and getting here from Keene, went through a snow squall.
Been there, done that. Alrighty, I think, the reason we asked to talk to you, cause, we purchased a laptop for the town treasurer.
Yes.
That being said, the discussions started changing, because we want her to basically use BSMI and get off the QuickBooks, so everybody's on the same system as a fiscal policy. And just for ease of reconciliation and everything, so everybody's on the same page.
Yep.
And we thought, she had a laptop, she could work on it, but then we're talking, thinking about security, what happens if it gets stolen, this and that. And the topic of VPNs came up and, instead of having her with a laptop,
VPN.
Virtual Protected Network, I believe it stands for.
Virtual private.
Private network, thank you, yeah, I knew it was something like that. Given her and basically everybody else that may need one a VPN so they can do work on our server. And that way the information's backed up there, it stays there, it's secured there, and we're not buying all kinds of laptops and
Mhm.
PCs and such. And that's where we're at with the
Yeah, and the
discussion, I think.
information wouldn't be
Yeah.
stored so much on their, if they're using their personal computer.
And so I guess
And
we're.
some, and I think some.
Right,
might be-
so,
I mean, even like for us, for example, I mean, I've got, contracts, drafts of stuff that we use for cemetery trustees as well as
Yep.
selectmen documents. That's on my personal computer, right to know, someone could come in and say, I want your hard drive, it's
Yes.
gone.
unless you encrypt it, but yes,
Right.
yep.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I mean, by right to know though, I mean, the judge can say, yeah, we want your laptop and, or your hard drive and that's all there is to it. If we got sued, hypothetically. Cause it's the right to know, cause it's public records, or, town
Yeah, but you
records.
could still have it encrypted for
Oh, true.
security reasons, and if a judge were to say, we want that, then you
Yeah.
provide them
Yeah, the encryption.
the encryption
Right.
code.
But I mean, but this way, if we had VPNs, we could be working here, in theory, and not even being touching our personal computer, it's just the dummy terminal.
Yeah, set up
Right,
a,
so
share
there's-
for us all.
There's multiple pieces to this, because.
Absolutely, that's why I wanna talk to you, 'cause you're the man.
Because in theory, the absolute proper way, if you wanna do it for security and to allow anybody to use their home computer to
Mhm.
set up a VPN to here and then get on the server, is your server's not configured to be able to do that. You would need what's called a terminal server, and you would have people VPN into the town and then log into the terminal server and work as if it's a desktop, like they were
Right.
sitting here in the office.
Well, I know, like, I have a VPN for work, but I have my own laptop I bring home, and I just connect to the VPN through my.
Right, but you're connecting to a terminal, you connect to the VPN and then you bring up a desktop, correct?
I bring up my own desktop, it's.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's
Mhm.
plan two, so the only way you could do it right now, the way you're currently set up,
Mhm.
is to have someone VPN in and then set aside a
A
machine,
station, like the
like the
welfare.
welfare machine,
Yeah.
that they could use as the machine that's in-house,
Yep.
connected to all the BMSI programs and all that.
Okay.
The drawback to that is that, well, that machine's being used for that, no one else can use that machine, so I don't think a lot of people use it anyway, but that's the drawback.
Well, I mean, if Tom and I were working on something together, at the same time, independently of each other, not knowing that, we could be competing for.
You could, right, that's why you know,
Just use it.
larger companies and corporations use a terminal server because it's one machine, it's one server,
Mhm.
but it allows a bunch of people to connect at the same time. You share it, you each have your own desktop, it's designed to allow multiple
It's
people.
a virtual desktop, basically,
Yes.
kind of.
So
Kind
it's
of.
It's not a,
partition for numerous type thing? Kinda like partitioning, you know, everybody has their own little section.
Yes, exactly, exactly, what it does is it sets up your own little, Windows desktop profile that you log into and you run your programs from it. At the same time, Ted could come in and run the same program, but
You're funny.
I know, I just had to throw that in there, cause I knew that was never gonna happen.
Can we get a bigger hammer and stone? Jeez.
As he's trying to turn it on,
Yeah, he's got,
no.
they got a hand crank trying to get.
But, so, I mean, it's probably overkill for you, but that's,
Yeah.
if you wanted to have multiple people working at the same time, at the same, stuff remotely, you would need to start thinking about that type of direction.
Gotcha.
did you mention at one time, only because I talked to him,
Yeah, go
budget related, did you say that we, under our contract, we have 2 VPNs that can use at the same time?
You
log
have,
in?
two, global VPN clients, which are fine, but I recommend there's one step higher than that can handle, and I think that, I'd have to look, only has one license, and that's SSL VPN.
Mhm.
And it's a higher, level
Security.
of security, and the VPN program that you launch from your
Mhm.
laptop or wherever you work is a little bit better than the global VPN client, but you could use the global VPN client, it's not a big deal, I just recommend the SSL. And you can add licenses, they're like $50 per user, I think, forever. Once you got it, you got it.
Okay, let's see.
So what's the big investment here, the server?
If you want to work, if you wanna have remote capability, I mean,
Because we have a number.
High level
We have a number of
remote.
committee people that use, I mean, like, Allison there does minutes and stuff like that, instead of, you know, she could do them from home if she wanted to, that way,
Mhm.
and everything
Oh,
would be,
that's a good idea.
you know, stuff like that.
so what we could do
Tom
with,
Clerk is asked to-
what we
to
could,
do
what we
things
could
too.
do with what you've got right now is, we could set up Allison's machine,
Mhm.
we could set them all up to, you know, we give them an address and we configure each with its own little individual port so that she would connect with the VPN,
Mhm.
and then given the right address and the right port number in the remote desktop, she'd go directly to our machine and she'd be able to use it. We can do that with all the machines,
Now that means leaving the machine turned on
but
though.
you leave the machine turned on, right?
Can I just
Mhm.
share my experience with this?
Yeah,
I used to
of
use
course.
LogMeIn.
Yeah,
This VPN, I really like it. It's very, very easy to use.
Mhm.
And what I see on my monitor is what I see.
Yeah.
With the LogMeIn, every now and then,
You don't-
the font was too small,
Yeah.
and I'd have to go find the tool to big, you know,
yeah.
and you just couldn't see
The other
it.
thing with the way you're doing it now, with the
Yeah.
LogMeIn, you had the ability to hide your monitor, but you didn't always know if it was on or not.
Yeah,
So if people were watching what was going on, when you use a remote desktop and connect to your computer,
Mhm.
it shows up as a lock screen here,
Mhm.
so no one can see what you're doing.
oh, I was wondering about that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Because, yeah,
so,
Okay.
That's
I- I-
I mean, the
even
printer
if it's,
starts working because,
Yeah.
you know,
so
somebody's
if,
using it, but
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I'm tired, mind blank, who else works at Allison's?
Joe Marie.
Joe Murray, thank
Yeah.
you, I'm thinking Joanne. If she were working on Allison's machine and Allison came in through the VPN,
Yeah,
Joe Marie it would come up as a lock
it
screen.
would bump
It
around.
would say Control Alt Delete, and she would have grabbed the session.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it only allows one person at a time to use the
On the
machine,
station, yeah.
and it locks it from being able to happen.
Now, our current server cannot be configured to be a terminal server.
The only way to do it would be, because you don't want the terminal server to be at the same level as
Mhm.
your file server is. So
Correct.
you can put two servers on one, make them virtual,
Yeah.
but we'd have to change that whole server over, we'd have to make it
to virtual
a
environments.
virtual environment, right?
It's not a virtual environment now?
No.
Okay.
No.
So how much would the, other server cost? Terminal server? Yeah.
Terminal server, so, you know, I guess I'd like, it would be the easier route to go is to get another physical box, but I mean, ideally, this, if we,
Mhm.
the smarter thing would be to have two servers on one box, cause now you only have one machine, you have to worry about power, or it saves some money that way. But it's a server, a server's a server, it's a few grand,
How much?
a few grand.
And couldn't you just buy a terminal and put it in the back room? And nobody would use it except the people that wanted to go on,
Again, yeah, you
I mean,
could,
how much is a terminal?
you could do that, yeah, for a few $100, you could put a PC back there, but only one at a time could use it.
Right.
So as long as you coordinated your efforts, you could do that, yeah.
Well, I mean, if I, not me, but if he was on it,
Yep,
and if for some reason she wanted to go on it, she couldn't until he got off of it, right?
no, she could end up, well, he would, most likely what would happen is he'd see someone saying, someone's trying to log in, you wanna let them,
Yeah,
and you have the
Then you get
opportunity to
off.
say yes or no. And then you got, and she would have to figure out, well, who's on there, and
Yeah.
call them and say, when can I get on?
I mean, but how often would that happen?
Hey, well, I know, exactly, it's,
where it would really happen, I think, is if he had, the town clerk at home doing something, snowy day, for example. You could have Lean, town clerk, and the
What-
treasurer all trying to do
well,
work.
lean town clerk, we could set them up to work on their own machines.
Their own
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the town clerk, the work that she does, 99% of it is on a state
Yeah,
computer.
probably the state machine, yeah.
I don't think you'd be able to do that with the state computer,
No,
could you?
probably not.
Well, whatever she does on the state computer, she can do on her own too.
Yeah.
Her computer is set up just like the state's, it's got all the same programs.
Yeah, there's nothing she'd be doing state related.
Probably not.
So why do we have a separate computer?
It's been that way since before me.
Oh, that may be true, but I mean, why do we have two computers that are doing the
I
same
think,
thing?
the state was providing you one,
Right. they
free of
still are.
cost, so that you could have an assistant be there. And I think it was just something that was being provided to you. But that, I mean, that state
But I think
computer I
the
can't
real,
get
the
into,
real
I don't
goal
have
here
access
is
to
to
it.
get, our treasurer on
Yeah.
the system, right?
Correct.
That's the real thing.
So it's either
Right.
let her use the laptop
So,
or
yeah,
via VPN.
the big, out of all everything you've mentioned about coming in remotely, the only one that would truly need a different machine would be the treasurer right now. And
Mhm.
Can I just say one more thing?
Oh,
I
sure.
know that when I bring my bag full of reports and things that I wanna work on, when I walk through the door, if my husband's on my laptop that is set up for VPN, I don't bump him off. So I don't know what the situation is with Pam at home. Does she share that same PC with her husband? If she needs to log on to work to do the work,
Well, she's logging on it anyway to do the work on her own computer right now with the QuickBooks.
I know, but I'm just
So-
saying, is it off times
I
of?
don't know.
What I'm getting at is if you're pushing her towards the VPN, you want her to log into the town,
Mhm.
does she have the sources at home to do that? Or would
I
it
don't
have to
think
be around somebody else in the
Oh,
house?
that I don't
You see
know.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But that's not our problem.
yeah.
No,
I mean, that's not gonna change anything.
Cause I mean, the time that she works on it at home on her own computer with the QuickBooks, she's
He's
gonna,
not on it anyway,
Right.
so.
she's gonna be doing that with ours, you know, just using the same terminal, but using it here.
Right.
I think, you know, personally, I think what I'm hearing right now, you're giving us options to think about for the future far as expanding
Right.
things. But what I'm thinking is just configure the welfare machine and let her use that as a VPN and
yeah,
just go there.
I will say this, that welfare machine is your oldest one.
Yeah,
He's gotta go,
And
Yeah.
Well, it's up for replacement, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah, time to give it the heave-ho. And
Right.
so, if you're gonna have someone do that, that would be my recommendation, is to replace that one.
Well, I think those
With one of the ones that-
replaced anyway,
it
right?
is,
It's
it
in the-
is. I mean, we've just gotten, who did we just get set up? Woody, we just got Woody set up, and then before that, we had the lightning strike, so we
Yeah.
had some emergencies.
Fire.
Things. Fire was another one that we just, you guys authorized, so,
Mhm.
yeah, this is on the list
So,
to be replaced.
so yeah, so if that one was replaced,
Mhm.
So if we
That-
replace
she
that
could-
machine,
then VPN would be,
I mean, she can
VPN would
still,
be the
she can still use it now,
She could use it now, it's just
yeah,
and then you replace it,
difficult, yes.
well, it would be difficult.
I mean, it's just slow and.
very slow.
yeah, well,
Cumbersome.
we should, you know, if we're gonna do this, then we should replace that one.
Well, you get the laptop, right? It's still handy?
The new one,
Yeah, the new laptop.
yeah, it's in the vault.
Can we just use it, and you just replace that PC with the laptop right at this point in time, with like a docking station or something?
You could do it without a docking station.
Right, or even
Yeah,
without,
but yeah, you
And
could,
and replace it with that until
You
you
could-
do get another PC for that location?
but even if you got a little, you know,
Mhm.
inexpensive USB docking station, you can just set that laptop, close the cover and have it be running like a,
Like a PC?
like
Well,
a
you know,
PC.
what you might wanna do, if we can do that, then can we put it in the back room so somebody doesn't sit
Steal
down and
it.
start to use it?
Right,
Yeah,
Yeah.
or shut it
Or
off,
steal it.
yeah,
yeah,
that
so
too.
yeah,
I
you,
just
where
feel
you-
like-
you could put it where in the server,
Yeah, put
where
it
the
with
server
the
is talking
server
about,
room,
yeah,
yeah.
plug it right into the
Yeah,
network.
that's what I would suggest, yeah.
Well, actually, if that was for her, then why don't we just do that and leave that welfare one alone, and then just plug that one in, and then
Yeah.
and just VPN into that one.
Alright, works for
And then
me.
that way, if
Good.
we need it, we can pull it out and use it at, town meeting or whatever, you
Yeah.
know, and plug it back in when we need to.
So we would just have to configure it
Mhm.
to be accessible with remote desktop, and yeah. We can, after that, you can, set the settings so that you can keep it in the back, keep the lid closed so it doesn't get damaged,
Yeah.
it will stay running.
So that
Yeah.
machine is big enough, bad enough to do that?
Yeah.
That laptop,
Powerful enough? Yeah.
blows that
Yeah,
welfare machine away.
Yeah.
excellent,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we could still be able to take it, unplug it, and like take it over and use it for a
So if you-
PowerPoint
yep.
if we wanted to.
Yep, absolutely.
So we'd have to maybe set up for more than one user, which wouldn't be a problem,
Well,
because you just
yeah.
sign on, right?
And if you're gonna disconnect it, like, they'd have to let,
Yeah.
Pam know, so she'll try to log in.
Well, I was thinking like if we have town meeting, you have
Yeah.
have a projector so we
Yeah.
can show like, you know, a map of Kelsey Road when we had that discussion, you know, stuff like that might be behoove
Good
us.
idea, that's a good idea.
Sure, it's on the network, so any user that's already set up on the server can log into that
Beautiful.
system. So,
So what do you guys think of that idea?
I like it.